Hey everybody, welcome to today's show. My name is Jonathan. I'm joined by three of my good friends and fellow co-workers here at Masters. John B, CEO and owner, two of our draft coordinators, Al, the Doc. What's up, guys?
Again.
How we doing?
Real good. Super excited for the show today. In case you don't know, Dynasty Football, by far the best way to play fantasy football. We have over 600 leagues here at Masters. We've never folded a single one and never intend to. If you're looking for a place to play, this is definitely the place. Also, if you could, real quick, hit that like and subscribe button. Come be a part of the Masters family. With that said, let's jump right into today's show. We're talking everything Dynasty Football. And what we're doing on this show, we're doing buy nows for rebuilding teams. So if you're a Dynasty team and you're rebuilding, some players we think you should go get right now as soon as possible. Who wants to start this off?
I'll start off, and just for this episode, I mean, we're not going to be talking about rookies,
Right.
Because they don't know where they're going to land.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to be talking about players already in the NFL.
Yep.
So I'd say that my first buy target would be Trevor Lawrence.
Wait a minute.
Wait a second.
All right, now that's the first rule of Dynasty football: is you might as well start off with a completely different player when you're targeting somebody, because if they know that's who you're going for, that they know that if they know who you're going for, they're a lot more expensive. So start with somebody completely different, and then go for who you want to go for. And by the way, that's kind of a segue into the Dynasty Sorcery series, and that video will be up here next Dynasty Sorcerer. But at any rate, I think my first guy that I'd be going for would be Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He had an okay season. I mean, finished the top 20, maybe top 24 running backs. But it wasn't a great season. But Le'Veon Bell's going to be gone. And you might be able to get him cheaper because everybody was certainly disappointed. He was the number one pick in every single rookie draft last year, or it wasn't number. May won every single one, but it was, gosh darn, it was most of them.
Yeah. Right.
And the thing with Clyde, you just can't get past the fact that he's attached to Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. Right.
And that's going to be a high-scoring team. They're going to score rushing touchdowns. Le'Veon's going to be gone. Darrell Williams is fine. It's just Clyde. That's somebody you should go get. Maybe get him for a mid-first round pick.
Right. Yeah.
Something you get that kind of value.
And kind of just building on the Clyde take, we're talking about Le'Veon Bell going to be gone. For a while, I was a little worried that, Le'Veon Bell was going to play great towards the end of the year, have a good playoff run, and then they'd maybe keep Le'Veon too. But they've been using, we just watched that Rams-Chiefs game. Darrell Williams got all the opportunities, so it's clear Le'Veon Bell is not part of the long-term plans. I think you could definitely use right now today as a great time to go get Clyde. I like that by a lot.
I was gonna say, I don't think you have to worry about Le'Veon Bell. He looks like me running out there. I mean, he looks slow.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened, but I don't know. I'd be going to get Clyde too. I really like that take.
Yeah, not just on the other side of that though. I mean, whether it's been Clyde, Le'Veon, I mean, is it system? It just doesn't seem like the running backs. They don't get me as excited, and I understand why you guys are going for.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting too because I feel like the Chiefs always had a running back produce. Like, it didn't matter. Like, before that Andy Reid system, it didn't matter who was playing quarterback. The running back was going to get a lot of carries, a lot of touchdowns, a ton of work. I mean, we've seen Jamal Charles, Damian Williams. Like, it doesn't matter. Whoever started, they played great. Spencer Ware had a few games where you're like, oh my gosh, this guy's going to be awesome.
Sharkandrick.
Yeah, Shark West. Niall Davis.
Yeah.
I mean, all these guys just plugged in and looked amazing, and that just seemed to be the system. But now it is. The more I watch the Chiefs this year, they're trending more towards just throwing the ball every time.
Yeah.
Which is it hurts because I'm big on Clyde too. Yeah, and that's a positive too. And I think Clyde's going to catch a lot more balls next year. But yeah, in terms of the rushing upside, I don't know. I am a little worried.
It just makes me a little nervous because it seems like they run, just to keep defenses honest.
Right.
But that's never going to be their game plan to give Clyde 20 carries a game. So that does scare me a little bit.
I'm not going to debate any of that. The point that I'm trying to make, though, is that everybody was disappointed in Clyde.
Right.
It's a great buying opportunity.
And I think you can get him
Yeah.
reasonably. I mean, I'm not saying cheap. Nobody's going to give them to you.
Right.
But you might be able to get them for less than what you think you can.
And I agree. Even some of the mocks I've seen had Clyde as high as like number 3 overall in Dynasty draft.
Yeah.
I'm just concerned that he may never have that bell cow type of row. But I do understand completely.
Yeah, definitely a good buying opportunity.
I agree.
Definitely. So I can go with mine, and we're not going very far. We're actually staying in Kansas City. My first one is Mecole Hardman. And, we've been waiting, and it seems like this year has been the first year where he's kind of got a little bit of traction. You see the big playmaking ability. I mean, obviously he's fighting for targets with Kelsey and Tyreek Hill and Clyde. It seems like Sammy Watkins is probably gone. I'm pretty sure this is the last year of his contract, and I don't think they're going to re-up. So next year is a huge year for Mecole Hardman to take a step forward into the offense, a bigger role. And not to mention going forward, Travis Kelce's no spring chicken. Tyreek Hill is getting up there, and he's been known to get banged up throughout the season. Mecole Hardman's got a real shot to be that exciting playmaker that we thought he would be coming out of college. And honestly, I don't know that anybody values him super highly.
Yeah.
Any league that I'm in, he's just kind of like a toss-in in most cases, which is mind-blowing.
I actually saw him dropped towards the end of the year in a couple different leagues. I think he was picked up the next week in blind bidding. But so definitely a guy who's, the guys who have him, he's on the bottom of their roster. He's not cuttable, but I mean, he's been cut, and maybe third rounder, second rounder would probably do it for sure.
He's the kind of guy that you might want to offer a second round pick for next year, for 2022 for him. And maybe you could get him and mix him in with a Rashard Higgins, somebody like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Higgins is another one I like.
I do too.
Especially if the Browns move on from Odell. I hope I didn't steal anybody's right there.
And I love his speed.
Yeah, I mean,
He's perfect for that Kansas City offense.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you never want to speculate with off-the-field stuff, but we know Tyreek Hill has had problems before, so sometimes the off-season for Tyreek Hill is just as scary as, a hamstring injury during the season. So there's the whole reason Mecole was drafted in the second round of Kansas City was, Tyreek had some legal troubles, and we thought he might not be playing again, so it's not out of the possibility that we saw him push a coach on the sideline on Sunday. I mean, we saw the fallout Antonio Brown had at times, so it's not crazy to think that, could Mecole step into the number one chair at some point in the near future?
For a guy that's has no value, almost none, like a guy that's been cut, a guy that's being just given away as like a throw-in in trades, I mean, this guy could have a huge role in the best offense in the league a year from now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy value to me.
Tyreek, he's 27 now.
26, 27, yeah. I think
Those speed guys,
yeah.
When the speed's gone,
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
the speed's gone.
You can't rely on your size when you're, 5'10", 200 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, great times.
All right, I like it.
So I'll dive into two of mine. They're kind of just together almost, but I actually thought you were going this direction when you started with Trevor Lawrence as the joke. And I was going to say, why not DJ Shark and Laviska Shenault? I mean, we know Trevor Lawrence. Oh, is that
No,
okay.
You're fine. You're fine.
We know Trevor Lawrence is most likely going to be the number one pick. Urban Meyer just signed that deal to Jacksonville. I think there's a lot to be excited about with those Jacksonville pieces. And Shark had a disappointing year. Shenault had a pretty good rookie year, but I think it's still a buying opportunity. So Shark's a buy low, Chenault's a buy where he is, and I think they're both going to have better years next year than they did this year.
Yeah, I think the beauty of Shenault is, even though he did have a good year,
it's under the radar.
Very under the radar. People are going to say, well, Shark wasn't even playing. I feel like the emphasis of this team going forward is going to be on Shark and James Robinson, not necessarily as much Laviska, so I feel like you could probably get him for a pretty good deal, and the dude's electric.
Yeah.
The thing, if you're going for them, you need to get them now.
Right.
You need to get them before the NFL draft, because
Totally agree.
they're going to be attached to the hottest thing, since Andrew Luck.
Yep.
And I've been picking them up. I mean, I've been going, not Sharp, but I've been going after Laviskas.
Yes. And I think it's funny, kind of how the media and fantasy football community, their opinion kind of persuades all of ours. Like right now, even though we know Trevor Lawrence is going to be the number one pick, they're not writing the articles yet about how Shark and Shenault are going to be great because Lawrence is there. But once Lawrence actually gets drafted there, it's going to be the rest of the summer. You're going to see articles on, DJ Shark's going to have a huge bounce back year with Trevor Lawrence. But right now, nobody's talking about it yet, even though we all know Lawrence is going to go there.
Yeah,
so.
And another thing I'm thinking too is, Urban Meyer's offense, we saw guys like Paris Campbell and Curtis Samuel get end arounds and get work. Shenault is perfect for that role where he can get utilized as much more than just a receiver.
And for all those guys that rejected all my Denzel Mims trades, but then he came back after it and offered him back, I say, hey, you waited too long.
Yeah. That's good.
Because I was all
Yeah,
over Denzel Mims, and I was offering the world for him.
I thought he was going to be on your list for this show, honestly.
Yeah, he's not.
No, okay.
All right,
Who's next?
I got one here. A guy I really like for a rebuilding team, for any dynasty team, really. That's Juju Smith-Schuster. You know, and I was telling him before the show started, like, I actually thought I thought he would have finished second on that team, but he actually finished first above Deontay Johnson and Claypool, which I think will surprise some people. Because I think if you had most people list, you know, the top 3 receivers in Pittsburgh in dynasty football, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Juju at the bottom of that list, Claypool and Deontay Johnson above him. But you know, he finished first again on his own team. He's in a contract here. I don't think the Steelers are going to cough up the $15-16 million to re-sign him. So I do think he's going to get signed somewhere and go as their number 1 receiver, a guy that can move around the field. He can play in the slot. He can play on the outside. You know, you guys talking about Jacksonville, New York, even. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up in one of them as their number 1. There's a lot of scenarios, and it's really rare that you see a guy at 24 years old getting ready to hit the market, choose where he wants to go. I think he finished like 15th this year. If you go back 2 years ago, he was a top 8 wide receiver. And those are all teams where he shared that number 1 spot. I think wherever he's going to go, he's going to be the number 1 receiver. They're going to pay him big money, which means they're going to pepper the ball to him. And I think you could get him relatively cheap for a guy that's going to be a number 1 wide receiver. I'm all over Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yeah, I actually agree with that a lot. I mean, as a player, I really don't even think he's as good as the fantasy production has been. But just to, you know, you talk about, you know, at 22 years old, he was a top 8 receiver. He's 24-year-old, you know, top 15 in like a down year for him. To think you could get a guy like that relatively cheap is crazy because, I mean, young receivers, it used to be hard to find a young receiver that would produce. He's been a guy who's produced already and is going to continue to produce. I do think he'll get paid relatively big, but more importantly, go to a place who really wants him, who's willing to pay him. And yeah, I think he's a really good buying opportunity. 24 years old, easily 6 more years of, you know, top 15 seasons, and that's a lot of value right there.
Because I feel like I'd give, like, you know, even before looking to that, like, I'd give him up for like 2 2s or
Yeah.
2. I'd consider.
Yeah, right. I say this draft, it's kind of hard because, like, you talk about how early the firsts are, and
People are going to be so hot in wide
yeah.
receivers because of last year.
Right.
Second round
Yeah.
picks, which is good. So you may go again for the second round. You know, that's kind of an anomaly. Last year's, last year's
Right.
second round,
Yeah.
how well they went.
Right.
And you know, one thing is we don't compare notes beforehand when we get here. And that's why we're stealing each other's thunder because I had Juju too.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. I had a third one just in case. Michael Gallo
Yeah.
from Dallas.
Yeah.
You know, everybody forgets how good the Cowboys were until Dak got hurt. You know, the offense was until Dak got hurt. And you know, Amari Cooper. I think CeeDee Lamb's the best.
Right.
I think it's CeeDee Lamb's the
Yeah.
best. Is the best rookie wide receiver this year. Maybe it's Justin Jefferson. And you know, Amari Cooper was great, but Michael Gallup, maybe Amari Cooper moves on. Maybe I don't know how. I don't know how the cap situation.
So
is.
it's
I'm not
really
sure.
interesting. So they've got him on the books at like $20 million for like the next 4 years, but it's basically like easy outs. Like there's like very little guaranteed money, so they can almost move on from him at any time, which makes it interesting.
Not that he needs to be moved on from.
Right,
I'm not
yeah.
taking any
Right.
cracks. I'm just saying Michael Gallup. Look,
Yeah.
you know, he had some monster games.
100% agree. And I guess on the contrary, you know, if they do keep Amari, that means Gallup's going to hit free agency within the next couple of years, and then he's going to go to a place that really wants someone that's going to use him. And I think he's a really talented player. So yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
agree because currently a 3 on Dallas. Either they make a move there and he slides up to a 2, or he gets traded and becomes a 2,
Right.
maybe even a 1.
Yeah.
Ken Gallup produces a 1.
And this is the kind of player again that you could probably get for a second round pick for either 2021 or 2022. And I always like to trade second round picks in the future year because I don't know. I always think I can get them back.
Yeah. I know. I'm the same way. Yeah.
Right. It's funny too because I feel like Juju and Gallup are similar in the fact that the perception is that they're the worst receiver on their team and they're a really good receiver. And I'm not even a big Juju guy, but I mean, the dude's produced. I mean, as much as I want to rip on him, he's 24 years old, like we've said. He's produced. I mean, whether he goes somewhere else or stays in Pittsburgh, he's probably still going to produce at a pretty high level. and you're going to get him for dirt cheap because the perception is, well, he's nowhere near as good as Claypool and Deontay Johnson, which I agree with, but you can't argue with the production. That's what fantasy is all about.
Exactly.
And the same goes with Gallup. I mean, no one's going to take him over Cooper or CeeDee Lamb, and you can get him for dirt cheap for that reason, and he very well could be a one on a team in a couple of years.
Yeah. So kind of a very similar player I've got on my list as another, buy for a rebuilding team. That's DJ Moore. Still just 24 years old. I actually thought he was going to have a great season this year, and he actually had a very disappointing season. But we talk about, very disappointing. He still finished as like wide receiver 24. So it's not like it wasn't an awful year, but it was certainly disappointing, and Robbie Anderson kind of took over, and there's talk that Robbie Anderson's the number 1, and maybe even Curtis Samuel's the number 2, and maybe DJ Moore's all the way down at number 3. But I still think DJ Moore actually is the most complete receiver on that team. He's still super young. I mean, Calvin Ridley had an amazing year. Calvin Ridley and DJ Moore came out same draft class. DJ Moore is still 2 years younger in age. Like, that's got to mean something. I mean, super athletic, still super young, can do it all. I don't think he was utilized the right ways this past year. And I think this year he's going to get more opportunities.
I gotta tell you, and this video is taken January 18th, I think, or January 19th. We can all read the papers. January 19th, Deshaun Watson's throwing the ball.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Houston, you would be stupendously stupid to get rid of Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
But if you do and he goes to Carolina,
they might not
but
have
sometimes
a choice.
sometimes you gotta be ahead of the curve, and that's
Yeah.
But you're gonna pay up for him. You're not gonna get him cheap.
That's why I like DJ Moore as well, because as much as I like Teddy and think he's just a steady quarterback, I do think they're going to go in a different direction. Whether that be putting a package together for Watson or drafting one of these rookie quarterbacks. Yeah. I think there could be someone newer and a little more exciting. I don't want to say that about Teddy Bridgewater because I do. I like him a lot, but someone that's willing to maybe push the ball downfield a little more to DJ Moore and utilize his talents a little bit better. I'm sure Joe Brady's looking for that guy too, but I like DJ Moore a lot, and that kind of I'll segue into mine, which is another receiver who's also young, Michael Pittman for the Indianapolis Colts, and I talked about him a lot before the season, just because I liked him as a second round in your rookie draft type of spot there. And you know what? He was banged up a little bit throughout the beginning of the year. Really came on towards the end of the season, and anybody that watched that Bills game, he looked really good in that playoff game. Really good. And I think, it made it clear right then and there, he's that guy going forward on the team that's that big target they need when they need to throw it up to someone. He's that guy. T.Y. Hilton had a pretty strong end of the season, but again, he's not getting any younger. Michael Pittman is very soon going to be the number 1 receiver on that team, and they're going to get an upgrade at quarterback, whether that be, I don't know, we've heard a million names thrown out, whether it be Carson Wentz, or maybe they move up and trade and pick someone in the draft. I don't know. It seems like there's going to be someone besides Phillip Rivers there next year, which I think is an upgrade. And, I mean, the sky's the limit for Michael Pittman. I think that's a guy that you can go get just because he was so quiet for most of the year with injury or quarterback play, whatever it be. I think you could get him relatively cheap here, and I don't think that's going to be the case a year from now, so I'd hop on it right now. Speechless.
Yeah, no, I agree. And actually, because I wanted to go back to the Deshaun Watson situation, that was a guy I had thought about with Juju too. If he does end up staying in Houston, I think one thing they have to do is make Deshaun Watson happy.
Yeah.
So I can actually see that move too.
Yeah.
Do you realize, I think I could be wrong on this too, but I think I saw the other day that Will Fuller, I forgot, was a number 1 pick. Maybe
First
round.
round.
Yeah, he was 20-something.
Yeah.
That was a great draft.
It was
Laquan Treadwell.
Corey Coleman draft, yeah.
Yeah, Corey Coleman, Laquan Treadwell.
Will Fuller.
Yeah.
And then Michael Thomas.
And Michael Thomas in the second round, yeah.
Yeah, kind of like Pittman, another guy I had wrote down was A.J. Dillon, Green Bay Packers. Another guy I'd be going to target for sure. I don't know what they're going to do with Aaron Jones. I personally don't think they're going to sign him. I think the money will draw him away somewhere else. And I just got to look at it like there's probably not another running back in a situation like that. If A.J. Dillon gets drafted anywhere else as the starter, I mean, he's a first-round pick last year, especially in Green Bay. I mean, you'd have to consider him as a top 5 pick. I mean, here's a guy that's just sat under the radar. And I even watching that Green Bay game, but they're giving all of them carries.
Yeah, they used all 3 of them this past weekend.
Quickly, too. It wasn't even as,
Yeah.
he did have the fumble, and I think he didn't play as much afterwards. But I do think that they're looking to see what they have in this young kid. And if I was Green Bay, I'd spend the money elsewhere. I'd move Jamal Williams, A.J. Dillon up. Those would be my top 2 backs. And I'd let Aaron Jones go. The moment that happens, this guy's value is going to go through the roof. You're going to be paying, 5 times more than what you're paying right now. So I'd go take a shot on A.J. Dillon right now. And also Jamal Williams, too. That's another guy. I mean, if they are going to move on from him.
You know, this is just something that makes me angry. I think it makes everybody angry. And I was looking at Sport Track the other day, which is some site that puts salaries down there.
Right,
and I saw the lowest paid players in the NFL are punters. But the second lowest paid player on average was running backs, behind kickers. Now, admittedly, there's a lot more running backs. But you do have some running backs that are making huge dollars. There's no kickers making that kind of money, and it was really close. But kickers were like 2.2, and the average running back was 2.1. It really upset me, and I don't know, that hey, $2 million a year, that's something that the doc might make, but I'm not. But it just upset. I mean, $2 million is a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. It just I don't know. It just upset me.
That is really interesting. But I will say though, from watching the Packers, I feel like as the seasons wore on, they've gotten A.J. Dillon a little more into the game plan, giving him more and more carries as the season goes on. Same with Jamal Williams. It seems like they're lessening the load for Aaron Jones. I don't know if that's just because they're trying to keep him fresh for the playoffs, or if they're thinking more towards the future, like get these guys some more reps. I don't know. I agree with you, JK. I can't see him paying all that money for a running back, especially if they do win the Super Bowl this year. I mean, and if Aaron Jones, isn't like a huge part of it. I mean, obviously he's been great for them, but I mean, it's been all Aaron Rodgers this year. Last year when the focus was on Aaron Jones, you got walloped in the NFC Championship game. Now the Packers look like one of the best teams in the league because they've kind of shifted the focus back to Aaron Rodgers. I think that might open eyes a little bit and say, maybe we don't need to pay this guy a ton of money.
I know it made me happy, and this was just back, it wasn't that long ago, but the Buffalo Bills paid Fred Jackson some decent money.
Yeah.
It just surprised me because he was older and they paid him decent money.
Yeah.
And the Saints paid Mark Ingram, he's 28, 29.
Yeah.
That made me happy for some reason.
And they cut him
by the
to
way,
that
we were
for
spot
yesterday.
on the Mark Ingram stuff too.
Yeah.
As the season wore on, Dobbins got more and more and more.
And they'd cut him
There
at
you
the end
go,
of the
Ingram
year,
cut.
and here we are. Cut. Yeah.
One of our few takes
Did
that
he get
actually
cut?
hit.
Yeah, just yesterday.
Yeah?
Did not know that.
On the 18th.
I look at a team like Buffalo too, like when Aaron Jones hits the market, and I mean they may address that in the draft, but if they don't, Pittsburgh, Buffalo.
I'd be scared if he goes to Pittsburgh.
I mean, there's teams
As
that
a Browns
need a
fan.
running back.
Yeah. Because, we're all talking about Aaron Jones as, like the Packers are going to move on, which they very well might and probably could. I actually think it's almost a small buying opportunity for Aaron Jones because he's going to go somewhere that wants him. I mean, he's a tremendous talent. A team's going to sign him to a nice enough contract, even if it's not crazy money, and he's going to get used in his next spot for sure.
As long as it's not the Jets.
This
I'm
is
on
something,
board with that.
something crazy I read today. The Packers have 11 first-round picks in 2012, and George Love is the only offensive player they took with one. All the others are defensive players.
Oh, wow. I feel like that's not good. I can't think of many of them. Yeah. Well, like Demarius Randall, Kevin King.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any more?
What are those first-round picks for the Packers?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, I know they picked a ton of DBs.
Amazing.
Jair Alexander's good.
Yeah,
Picked a lot
I
of
was all
corners.
over Jair. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I think that's all I got for buys.
Okay. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up this edition of our buys for rebuilding teams. We'll be coming back right after this. We're going to do sales for rebuilding teams. Thanks so much for listening. Hit that like and subscribe button. Come be a part of the Masters family.